Where are we? Where are we?
Hey, went off without a hitch. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Wednesday, hump day. Pat, how are you, my friend?
I'm just happy to have a beer. That's my new way of looking at the world.
Yeah.
Like I got a beer in hand. I'm not sick with COVID. Pay my rent.
Practice
I can eat.
gratitude. You paid your rent late? Is that what you said?
No, I can pay my rent. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I mean,
the little things in life,
the
like
little
food
things in
and
life, like just basic necessities.
My cat almost loves me sometimes. Where you at, little bastard?
How's
How's your world?
By peeing all over you, right?
Oh my God. Don't get me started. The old cat, I have one of these fancy robotic litter boxes.
Right.
And he usually just goes outside and handles his biz because he's an indoor-outdoor cat.
Right.
But lately he's realized, you know what? I can just drop it off right next to the robotic thing and Pat will clean it up. So he's been just leaving me gifts on my brand new rug. I bought a new rug. And so gratitude. This beer is delicious. That's all I'm saying.
I feel like Pablo needs to practice some gratitude. Maybe he should start by not addressing you with your proper name and call you Dad instead. I feel like there's a lack of respect there if he calls you Pat.
Yeah, somebody asked me why I named him Pablo, by the way, and I forgot, but I should record both my cats one of these days because the little one sounds like a little quiet monkey when she meows. She's just little chirpy monkey sounds. But Pablo is very like he rolls his R's.
I like it. Yeah, he's got a Latin flavor.
Yeah, that's why he's Pablo.
I like it. Very cool. Very difficult to roll your R's if you weren't taught how to do it at a very young age. Right. The rolling of the R's. Most Americans cannot roll their R's.
True.
And native French speakers cannot say thistle. That's the little thing that you do when you're in an international school and everybody's speaking different languages, just to make everybody feel like no one's better than anybody else. We all have our issues.
It sounded like one of your acting things, where you repeat the things before you go on.
The tip of the teeth. Yeah, I used to coach accents also because I love accents, but all of those not tricks, but tools of sort of like opening your mouth and making your mouth move the way it's supposed to, and
you had to make it sexual.
I did. It always comes back to prom night. All right, let's. What do you think? Should we just start the show?
Sure. I mean, if you don't want to share anything personal, go ahead. How you doing?
I don't really have anything personal to share. I got nothing. I'm mostly just like watching, shows. I'm watching a couple that I'm really enjoying right now. I'm really liking Paradise. I like
Paradise too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun, right? I like Paradise. I am always amazed by how close to the truth some of these shows and movies get to how corrupt our government is and how much they manipulate truth. And I feel like, it's like it's an extension of, manufacturing consent, of like allowing the population to feel like there's something subversive in their art, but then always just allowing.
You can only go so far.
Right? Yeah.
but it does have a lot of, it relates a lot to what's happening now with the end of the world, potentially with the bunkers, with, not trusting the government. There was this plan the whole time, and a lot of stuff like that.
Conspiracy stuff.
Thank you, Zana. Cheers.
Yeah, that's nice. I figure I must just put one or two things up where people are nice to you in the chat, so it doesn't feel like it's just me putting up
winning. Winning the whole show.
I'm choosing only the good ones. Anyway. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I need some distraction from the world because, I do not see the light yet at the end of this tunnel. So it's nice to just, zone out a little bit.
Right.
All right, let's get to it. We are ever expanding. Oh my goodness, you guys, thank you so much. We adore you. Our pup heroes and sheroes, our members, thank you, thank you, thank you. Cheers to all of you. We really do love our pup fam. And, we get lots of DMs from people who say, it was really fun to drop by your show. What a great chat you guys always have. Your chat's always so much fun. The people in your chat are so great. So props to all of you. Thank you for making it a fun and welcoming place. Pat and I have gone on a few shows where the chat was not so lovely, and it's a different experience. It's fine. Like, I want people to feel like they can say whatever they want to say, but it's nice when it feels respectful. I love it when you mute yourself. It's the best.
I'm sorry. People have brought up they want us to be spicier against each other a little bit. Like, like it'd be interesting to see you guys fight and have disagreements, but politically we win so fucking much. It's just forced.
I know.
Lila's a genius. What could I say?
I'm always right. And no, I'm joking. I will say though, the times that you are wrong, you don't admit it. You never pay the price for it. Trump is president. RFK Jr. and Tulsi are in his administration, and you just keep sailing through like no consequences. You're like the Pod Save boys. You're like all the Democratic consultants. There, how's that? Is that a good start to a fight? Incitement to
you
fight?
Had to bring up the Pod Save boys.
Oh yeah, we got a good one.
Which makes me want to rewatch the first episode of Survivor this year, because the Pod Save boy, one of them was on the show.
Yeah.
And if you enjoy seeing him look like a douche,
just watch the Pod Save podcast every single week. No, I'm kidding.
What was that?
The runs. Thank you. I saw that you posted this to us. And I read quite a bit. I read the tweet. I don't know if there was a longer article with the difference or the friction or the animosity that liberals have towards leftists. And it was great. We've talked about it on here, and I need to bring back that article that I found a few years ago that to me really encapsulated what the issue is. And it was very much this. It's the difference between vegetarians and vegans, and how much vegetarians despise vegans when they are polled versus just omnivores who have no real, they don't care. And so or they might make fun of the whole lot of vegetarians and vegans, but vegetarians had a much more negative attitude towards vegans for the very reason that vegans are actually sort of committed to
the principles.
The
all
principles.
In.
Yeah. And so it sort of reveals the hypocrisy or the lack of commitment of vegetarians to have to place themselves near vegans. And I feel like the left does that for, Democrats, even though, I have no issue with either of them or whatever, but
omnivore as hell. But your analogy is apt, because like my mom, for example, she's kind of a lib, let's be honest here. Sympathetic to progressive stuff, but they're well off, doing all right. And to the food analogy, she stopped eating cows because she loves cows, and they're just cute, nice pets. She's not all in on vegetarianism.
Right. Oh, is that where that ends?
That's it. That's all I got.
Oh, okay. Well, you said
fuck you, Mom. Sorry, I was gonna. Should I attack her? Let's call her out. Let's call my mom live on the show.
Yeah, it really does feel like it's just moral rectitude that liberals are after, and it really doesn't matter when you bring it. It's like it's so difficult to convince liberals that Obama was awful or Clinton.
Choosing, and Democrats winning is more important than any issue to a liberal.
Yep, I know, it's crazy.
Leave moms alone. Yes,
leave moms alone.
Love you, Mom. Sorry, she's not listening anyway.
And we are seeing a lot of the left doing this to disabled people right now. COVID really broke or is breaking people's brains. Like, it's kind of crazy to see how unifying that the COVID, protections have been for everybody who's actually not really on the left. including like, you know, Democrats and MAGA, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
But
Okay.
yeah, along
Yeah.
along that lines, the discourse this week has been a lot about the disabled stuff, you know,
Yeah.
and that's why I've been doubling down on it hard, because I feel like when people are when something is in the discourse, you got to act like propagandists and just flood it with our
Yeah.
view on a thing.
Yep.
And it intersects COVID, it intersects marginalized groups, intersects the left not recognizing the biggest opportunity to fight for healthcare, which
Yep.
impacts these marginalized groups more than everybody else. Like, it's just really it's the time to emphasize that when the discourse is being had by everybody. So I'm doubling down like crazy right now on all that.
I mean, it's so important. I just will never understand why people get so upset and offended by people who wear masks. Like, I just don't understand why that's a problem at all. But it's really, it's again, like, it does feel like the vegan vegetarian thing, right? It's like, it's a sign that yes, we haven't returned to normal, but also, oh, the person wearing a mask actually is walking the walk. And I say I'm a leftist or a socialist, but I won't do any of that for my community. Right.
And that's a very real part of it. And that's why the door people annoy me the most, you know, to be honest. But you know, like I had a tweet sort of go viral, me in a mask saying, tough guy shit or something, you know.
Yeah.
So of course, you know, I got flocked with literally 100 people calling me gay, the R-bomb, you know, all this stuff. But what's interesting is that it made it so clear that it's still a gaslighting campaign, because you got the real people that get in there. But if you look at most of the quote tweets from these accounts, they have 0 likes. It's still a funded campaign to minimize COVID. That's still what's behind this, you know. And I think at least half of the people attacking me are just online to do that to other people. Like, if you go check out their feeds, they're nonsense. But when you get actual leftists involved here, like we had this week with a lot of this discourse, that's when it really grates on you. It's like, you guys should be the ones out there defending from these trolls, and you're on the same side as these paid capitalist trolls.
Yep.
What is wrong with you?
But like, we've known that since almost the beginning, right? Like the Koch brothers and the Brownstone Institute, and they were funding all of this, you know, they were part of the whole you know, mass infection, let it rip. What was it called? The oh my goodness, the Swedish response, you know, of just let it rip. Anyway, I can't remember it, but the Brownstone Institute. And it was, you know, it's a big right-wing campaign to just sow discord and get everybody back to work. And the Barrington
Declaration.
Thank you, Saul. Yeah. And the fact that people on the left would, I mean, you know, it was disgusting enough to watch the whole Democratic Party just stop believing science and tell everybody to take off their masks and get back to work and listen to the Delta CEO and, you know, take an arbitrary 10-day isolation period down to 5. Now it's 1 only if you have a fever. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it feeds, as you were saying, feeds into every policy that the left says they believe in, but they will not protect their health. And then to have them say, and because I think the whole thing started with someone saying, like, people say that you should go to the gym to get strong so you can fight fascism.
Yeah.
And
dude.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, you're not going to go to the gym or start taking karate classes and be ready to take on the Nazis. Like, you know, it's not going to hurt you, but like, get this fantasy out of your head that you're going to get out there and it's going to be us in the streets against the Nazis, and you're going to be this hero that wins the war. Like, first off, the Nazis are not going to come unarmed to these things. So are you ready to get stabbed and shot? Because, you know, and the other thing is, if you're going to say disabled people aren't helping the cause, I'm not taking on a disabled person and a gun in a wheelchair. Like, you think my gym is helping me take on that person with the gun?
Yeah.
Like, come on, let's be real about this.
Yeah. It's,
Sorry, I'm ranting.
No,
but
go ahead,
the part that eats me up is this whole narrative that the lack of recognition that they're acting like libs. When progressives act like libs, when they're tone policing disabled people, being mad at the people that are harming them.
Yep.
Like, you in every other aspect, the left recognizes there's a marginalized group. They should have a voice, even if it's not something I'm on board with. Like, it's their voice. Let's listen to them. Let's hear their opinion. And, tone policing, being civil hasn't gotten us anywhere. But all these progressives are out there saying, hey, you disabled people, it'd be nice if you were just nice about it. Maybe you'd get some more changes if you were nice about it. 5 years of people being nice about it has gotten no change. So shut up.
100%. It also, and this is my own, this is anecdotal, but it does seem like a lot of them are, white middle class people who really just, like libs, want to feel good about themselves, and the having to wear masks for their community, or pointed out that they are not choosing to do what they should be doing. They just can't handle it. And it's, okay.
All right.
I know. I read something and I was like, wait, there was something that somebody just wrote that I wanted to address, and now I can't remember. All right. I don't know. Should we just get to it? Are we doing
there
cheers?
You go. You got it.
That's all I needed. That's what I was looking for. No, I'm kidding. Are we doing our cheers first?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So it's award season. And that's what I was looking up, was Say Nothing. It's award season. Say Nothing is on my list. I haven't seen it. It's about the Irish Troubles. But there was just this past weekend the Irish Film and TV Awards, and one of the main actresses, Laurie Pettigrew, won for Say Anything. And this is her speech.
This show asks big questions about how we in the North move forward and move on. Gutless politicians kick about ideas like painting over murals, while working class people on both sides of the green and orange line cry out for investment in social housing, education, youth services and mental health services. While both governments punish trans kids for existing and legitimise war criminals with handshakes and shamrocks, my peers are dying by suicide. There is what feels like insurmountable intergenerational trauma and insufficient services to deal with it. I would say that the first step in moving on and moving forward would be providing some decent mental health services, investing in youth services, and a proper standard of living for all working class people in the North. Thank you, and Free Palestine.
I wonder what the response would have been in the US.
Oh, it would have been a lot of people looking at each other with their eyes open, like, oh,
yeah. Like, are we allowed to say that? Working people should have a dignified life.
I love her so much, especially because you could tell it took a lot of nerve and she was cracking.
Yeah.
It just adds so much, this is important. Yeah. So that's why she did it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty cool. All right. Rehashing it out?
I suppose we are.
All right. Well, it's quite a week. Trump has been in power now for 4 weeks. 4 weeks almost.
Feels like a year.
4 weeks tomorrow. Yeah, a lot's happened. A lot of it's horrific. Most of it is horrific. And there's no response. And it all just starts to feel like a major test bubble. And it just keeps going. So his latest tweet and pronouncement was, "He who saves his country does not violate any law." First of all, who the fuck talks about himself that way? And certainly Trump never does. Like, where are the caps and the misspellings and the 30-line paragraph? Who wrote that for him?
Yeah, and okay, so Assange, let's go to the real people saving this country. They didn't break the law.
Palestinians. saving their country,
protesters.
Yeah. But I mean, it is just, and we're going to have lots of examples of where free speech for them starts and ends, even though they make these huge pronouncements. So that was then quote tweeted by our favorite Nepo-Nazi, as Ayanna Pressley said, with 14 American flags. I mean,
yeah, and
right?
and 14 is like, it's 1488, I think, is the Nazi thing that they do.
But that's combining the two, and the 88 is the Heil Hitler, right? That's the HH, right? And the 14, it's like the 14 lines in the first bit of the Nazi party, I don't know, but it's it's all Nazi.
It's just stuff. It's a known Nazi preamble,
14,
and the 14 number
14 words.
is
the 14 words. Thank you.
14 words. Yeah.
So
it's not an accident. And after getting criticism for the 14, which was foreseeable, he did it again with 14. So it's not like he just pushed the flag a whole bunch of times and ended on 14.
Yeah. Then he did 88. He's not the brightest guy. I mean, it is really interesting. So, okay. Also, what was interesting was we gave Kamala a lot of flack, I think deservedly, for doing her first big interview as the presidential candidate with her VP, because it felt illustrative of how insecure she feels giving interviews, because she knows she's a horrible speaker and really didn't have any platform. So she brought walls on with her for her big network interview. Trump does not have that issue. He has a million other issues, but like that's never been a thing for him. He's seemed like he always will sit down with anybody. And, he gave, so many more press conferences and interviews than Biden, of course, but I even think than Obama. Like that's not a problem for him in his own mind. Why would he bring Elon into his big Fox interview a couple nights ago? It's just kind of crazy.
Yeah. If I'm being honest, I really think he's compromised and Musk has him from just Twitter DMs or something so benign.
Yeah.
So like, he's got him. Like he looks so uncomfortable looking over and handing it all over to Musk in the Oval Office with his kid. And he loves the spotlight so much, and he's just sitting back, which is so unnatural.
It's so weird. Okay, Mo, we have a problem. We lost our little Colin Audible shot clip that I could just put it up anytime and be like, fill me up. So I just keep pouring. We forgot to do the wheel at the beginning. Definitely
I'm all for a spontaneous wheel, and then we'll get back to this stuff.
Okay, just to start with some fun.
Yeah, why not? We'll be back in. They're not going away. It's only a month into this garbage.
Yeah, baby.
Nice.
All right, but
hey,
here's the audible. You still got to take your hit.
Oh yes, take your hit, please. That's a mandatory timeline cleanse feature.
Yeah.
Since we're sticking with the Irish, the timeline actually is Irish comedy here.
Let's see.
Actually, Shay, will you pull over? I drank way too much of that bloody lemonade.
Oh no! We're already fucking late, Fitzy.
What? Well, if Siobhan's lemonade wasn't so bloody delicious.
We're gonna be late. Just hold it in. Okay?
I can't hold. I really need to go. I'm not joking. Come on, we need to pull over.
Shay, just go in a bottle. Just go in a bottle, Fitzy. Come on, it would actually be hilarious. Go in a
You're
bottle.
not serious. Where's that come from? No way!
Go!
Oh my God!
Go!
Oh, I can't believe I'm gonna do this. All right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Fine.
Fitzy, you're hilarious.
Look away.
You're mental. You're mental.
This is mental. I can't believe you guys made me do this. You bloody reprobates.
Maybe I should have saved that for the shit show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All the scatological humor should come on the
Right.
shit show. That's really disgusting, but very funny. Who amongst us has not had that situation? I'm joking. I'm totally joking. Okay. Going back to this incredibly awkward interview that was even like pushed by Trump when he got questions on conflict of interest and who's going to oversee and make sure that DOGE and Elon are not self-regulating and, paying themselves under the table, or, making sure that the very offices that they're supposed to be overseeing are not also, throwing money back to them. So this is Trump first talking about how there's no conflict, and he's sure of it. Trust us.
Mr. President, given your concerns about corruption, you said that if there were any conflicts of interest with Elon Musk, you wouldn't let him anywhere near it.
That's right.
DOGE and SpaceX employees are now working directly at the Federal Aviation Administration and the Defense Department, agencies that have billions of dollars in contracts with Musk's companies or that directly regulate his companies. How is that not a conflict of interest?
Well, I mean, I'm just hearing about it, and if there is, and he told me before I told him, but obviously I will not let there be any conflict of interest. He's done an amazing job. They've revealed, in fact, he's going to be on tonight, a big show called Sean Hannity at 9 o'clock, and he's on and I'm on, and we talk about a lot of different things. And any conflicts, I told Elon, any conflicts, you can't have anything to do with that. So anything to do with possibly even space, we won't let Elon partake in that.
He's literally doing it, dude. What?
I mean,
What?
It's, it's that like, I do not believe you. Like but it doesn't matter. You just say your stuff. We're working ceaselessly and endlessly, tirelessly for our ceasefire. We're, the most pro-union president. Nothing matters. Like nothing matters.
And kind of like, why are you asking me? He's going to be on a show tonight where you can ask him. Ask him about the conflict of interest. That'll clear it up.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, I'm just learning about it. I'm just learning about it now, just like Project 2025, just learning about it. So here is, this is their, oh my God, this was just all so awkward. But the two of them together on, okay, this is Elon starting off this interview, which I did not watch in all one sitting because it's just all incredibly painful for so many reasons. But he's going to tell you about some dinner parties he's been at recently.
This whole sort of like, they call it like Trump derangement syndrome. And I didn't, you don't realize how real this is until like you can't reason with people. So like I was at a friend's birthday party in LA, just a birthday dinner, and it was like a nice, quiet dinner, and everyone was behaving normally. And then I happened to mention, this is before the election, like a month or two before, I happened to mention the president's name. And it was like they got shot with a dart in the jugular that contained like methamphetamine and rabies, okay? And they're like, wow! And I'm like, what is wrong? Like, guys, like, you can't have like a normal conversation. Yeah. And it's like, it's like they become completely irrational.
I mean, look, like Mo's saying, the eventual breakup's going to be, I don't know. I honestly, at this point, I just feel like he's owned by Musk somehow. Like, did you see his body? Let's get the body language experts on. I love that. But
he always kind of does that though, right? Like he said, okay, I totally understand what you're saying because he's not said anything mean about him ever. And I feel like you could not say that about anyone else in his orbit, right? So something's going on there. But I do wonder if it's not just that I think Trump, suffered from the, like the Orange County, like the, the bridge and tunnel crowd not being really from New York. And there's like this hierarchy.
It's a reach kind of thing. Like,
like he was never part of the true elite and he still isn't. But now the richest man in the world is being nice to him and like fluffing him online,
Yeah. We're not going to know. And you're right. I mean, if there's one guy he's going to look up to, it's the richest man but he's definitely deferential to him, which
Yeah.
is so bizarre. And
Like he
yeah,
holds
he's
back all of his id. Yeah.
right. I mean, on one hand, it could be as simple as this guy's fluffing up Trump, and he's like, look, here's the smartest guy that I admire fluffing me up,
Right.
and he sees it that way.
Right.
But come on, I mean, for Trump to just sit there and all the attacks on Trump's campaign from the press and the public, and he's losing MAGA folks, are because of this Elon stuff. Now, yeah, it's going to enrich Trump. This is all
Right.
part of it too, and maybe that's enough to carry it over the finish line. But to me, I think he's compromised somehow. That's what my gut is saying here.
Well, okay. He really could be, and who knows? I mean, he should be, because he's done a million disgusting things in his life. Many of them have been public. So I guess on some level, I'm like, I don't know. Is that like what?
Like, could he be? Does it
worse?
matter?
Yeah, yeah. And I do think, I saw Hope said he's old and tired now. I do think he's lazy, and I also do think that he doesn't enjoy being president. Like, he made it really clear in the last regime of his. But the other thing is, Musk is getting the heat for all the things that Trump and his rich pals actually want to do. So it's a little like MAGA still loves Trump. They never blame him. He has this guy around. He can be like, he's the richest, smartest man in the world or whatever. And he can just kind of relax a little.
Yeah. And it could, Trump's not smart, but this all could be a strategy on some level created by somebody else, like the project. What's the damn project called?
2025.
Project 2025.
In the year we're in.
Yeah. Oh, that one.
Hard to remember.
it's a rough one. But look, strategically, if you want to get evil shit done and still be a popular president, you come in, you put it all on Elon. Elon does it all the vile shit the first year, and now you're past it in time for the midterms and recover. You fired Elon or whatever, You got your rotating villain kind of thing. He's the villain. Trump's back. He's back, baby.
And he can focus on what he thinks is going to get him the Nobel Peace Prize. Right. Although this is 8 seconds, but it just cracks me up when he feels like he can say whatever he wants. So Modi was visiting, and they're giving a press conference, and Modi starts talking, and here's the president of the United States.
Mr. President, people in India would be welcoming your decision to extradite Habur Rana to...
I can't understand a word he's saying.
Like, who says it that way?
Such disdain.
Like, he's standing right there next to you, and you can't just be like, it's crazy. That's crazy. So like the fact that he's controlling himself, and he looks like a toddler when he's sitting there next to Musk, and he's kind of like, but he is keeping it in. Like, he does not want to offend him. And he took Musk's side over Sam Altman for OpenAI stuff, and the H-1B visas. He took Musk's part over. Like, I don't know.
What I'm saying, even if it's not compromised, there's a contract somewhere there, between the two of them for transactional wins that makes it worth it for him to kowtow to Elon.
Absolutely. All right. So there's so much in here. The Social Security one really reveals how Elon and his, little gang of tech bro boys are not, I don't know if it was intentional, if they're really that ignorant, or if they just thought they'd get away with something by being like, oh, we got rid of all of these people and all of this corruption on the part of Social Security. But here's Trump announcing it, and then we'll go into a little bit of the work to show how they arrived at this figure, which is hilarious.
But when I saw the Social Security numbers, I said, wow, that's really something. So let's just go above 100 years old. We have millions and millions of people over 100 years old. Everybody knows that's not so. We have a very corrupt country, and it's a sad thing to say, but we're figuring it out. Now, the good thing about Social Security and what I read is if you take all of those numbers off, because they're obviously fraudulent, or incompetent. But if you take all of those millions of people off Social Security, all of a sudden we have a very powerful Social Security with people that are 80 and 70 and 90, but not 200 years old. You know, so it's a very positive thing. How about over here? Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, Trump via Elon and his DOGE crew is saying that there's been all of this extra money being floated out to the millions of people who were in their 150s and 200s, and they found it, they rooted it out, they're getting rid of it. So we'll look at that. But also the other part of this is interesting because he does keep saying that he's not going to touch Medicare, Medicaid, or Social Security. And so what he's saying is with that, like, we found it, we rooted it out, so now we don't need to touch it, which is flying in the face of what Musk actually wants to do. So that's going to be interesting to see how that goes, right? Oh, you are muted again.
I think he's just following it so unclosely. He doesn't know.
Trump.
That's a big part of it. Yeah, Trump's just not following this stuff.
Knows that Musk wants to do that. That Musk has been like gearing up for trying to use DOGE to cut the entitlement programs.
I don't want to put Trump on the he's innocent here bandwagon. I just think he's so uninvested in anything other than whatever transactional deal they have going on in the background.
Yeah.
I think it's as simple as that. And, you know, how many times in the last 4 or 8 years, you know, back when Trump was president, did Trump say something and realize he had to step back from it, and he just did immediately? Like, none of it matters. It's all
he puts out the fire that he starts.
So
like he doesn't care about inflation now, even though that was a big promise. But all right. So this was the big, you know, proud moment for DOGE's first rooting out of corruption was, according to the Social Security database, these are the numbers of people in each age bucket. Lovely. With the death field set to false. Maybe Twilight is real, and there are a lot of vampires collecting Social Security. Laugh, laugh. Okay, laugh. So he is saying that there are almost 5 million people who are 100 to 109, 3.5 million or 7 million basically between 110 and 129. He's saying that he found basically like what is this? 1, 2, 3, 15, 20 something, 22, you know, million extra people who are getting paid. He actually said it more. So I can't remember what his thing was. I think he said there were like 80. He did not say there are 88 million extra people, did he?
I think Trump said
88.
Hundreds of millions.
All right. They're a mess.
I don't know.
It's not. It doesn't even add up to all that here. But
everybody knows it, though. That's what he said. He said everybody knows.
Everybody knows it, and it's just been going
so boldly stupid.
But what you know, there's so many people cited this document, which is, you know, one of the many inspectors general who, probably this person was fired, but you know, they tried to go through and fire all these people. More than 18 million deceased number holders information is missing, but they're saying that officials noticed that almost none of the 18.9 million number holders currently received Social Security payments. And what happened was, because the way the database was created with an older program and these young 20-year-olds aren't familiar with it, the data set's just put to like anybody who's older than, I think, 100. The number for the date of birth is 1875, which makes them old. But these people are not getting Social Security benefits. It's just a way of showing like these are the sort of expired accounts. And there's even, you know, this person, Ellie Likes Data, posted, this is the census population. And at the very bottom there, 99 and older, there are 89,000 people who are receiving Social Security benefits in the 99 and over category, which is
that millions? I don't know. Is that millions? I don't think it's millions.
No,
I know. I'm just saying.
Oh, I'm like, wait, what? No, yeah. So like, even
claim.
If you think that you found, even if all of the people 99 and older are, or even if all those people that are like 150 or whatever he had on his thing where he thinks that these people are still
if they're
getting,
registered.
they're not
getting
the check. So like, what are you finding? It's just, it's so embarrassing. And this is why they're not going to make anything else transparent, because as soon as they were like, look at the data, it's all here. Look at this. We are wasting money. Social Security. This is why it's going to become insolvent. And we're, but we got rid of it. And it's all a lie. 89,000 people. Like,
so they immediately pivot to stuff like no junk food for people who get SNAP, because these are the distractions they want from the fleecing of the middle class that they're doing, like a culture war over, they want the 1980s, welfare babies kind of discourse.
Right. They're going to, well, this is RFK, who you promised me wasn't going to get confirmed.
I did not promise you, but I did not think he would.
But so he's already talking about, he gave an interview where he said he would not have vaccinated. He, part of what he said to pacify people who were scared that he was going to try to get rid of all vaccines, all childhood vaccines and all vaccines. He was like, no, I vaccinated all my children. They got all of their early childhood vaccinations on schedule. I believe in vaccines. I just want to make sure they're safe. Well, I want to make sure they're safe also. So like, that sounds reasonable. Now that he's confirmed, the first thing he says is, now I'm going to look at all that. And if I had to do it all over again, I would not vaccinate my children against measles, mumps, polio. And this is the thing that's,
Well, think of the public messaging of your top guy in healthcare saying, I wouldn't do any of these vaccines. Like, even if he doesn't remove the vaccines, the impact that has on our collective health when the population gets under vaccinated, it's just massive. He's going to kill, and we're going to get into the other stuff too, but like defunding, they're going to pull a lot of the mental health drugs and antidepressants and like all these crazy
work
batshit
on a farm. So, okay.
That's why I've said from the beginning, he's the biggest risk to our country's health.
Yeah.
Like flat. Out.
Yeah. He is science. This is such a common refrain from the Maha right-wing bodybuilding guys who work out in jeans and no top and post it online, which is like,
why are you describing me? Why are you describing?
Shut up, you do not do that. Is that you can just like healthy eat and exercise your way out of disease.
Look at these guys. Sorry.
I have to tell you, correct. Fucking
it's
Russell
RFK
Brand,
in the middle holding, I don't know, whatever, the cure to
or
cancer or something,
His brainworm.
Russell Brand, who immediately pivoted to the right and became Christian the moment he had all these sex scandals, because who's going to defend you? The right. They're like going to say it's a left-wing conspiracy. Right. And then on the right, it looks like Ron Paul, but it's actually Dr. Oz, the key grifter that, thank you, Oprah, for bringing him to our world.
I know. I was just going to say, how many people has she brought into our lives? Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz. I mean, she had, there's that old clip floating around of Trump on her show saying that he would run for president someday and he would definitely win. I mean, anyway.
Yeah.
So this whole thing, and what's the actual reasoning behind that mentality? Like, what is that? To deny medicine, to say that it's all food, and so I also do know that we are poisoning ourselves in this country, right? We're poisoning the air, we're poisoning the water, we're poisoning the ground, we poison our food. So much of it is poison. That part of it, I am fine. And I do think, that adds to a lot of issues that we are all having. We're a very unhealthy country for a country that's as rich as we are. But of course, he's not going to ever talk about Medicare for all or universal health care. Just go to the gym, dude.
I see it as twofold. Like, there's two elements to it. One, he believes the shit he says. He's a conspiracy nut. Like, he really truly believes it. So from his perspective, this is science. That's what he's
Right.
pushing. He's like,
Right.
I wish now the whole world's going to know what I've known forever. Right. That's
Yeah.
he's in that role now. Right.
Yep.
But why they picked him and why they love him is get to fucking work, fucko. Stop complaining about these things. COVID's not real. It's barely real. Vaccines don't help anyway. Just be healthy.
See a doctor.
Lift some weight. Drink some
Yeah.
purple shit that fucking, I don't even know what's that stuff he
I
drinks.
don't know, he puts that blue stuff in his
The blue stuff. Sorry, not purple. The blue. Drink some blue shit. There's some studies. Chemtrails. Oh, we're gonna end chemtrails.
Right.
Like,
yeah. I mean, I guess that's it. Nobody needs healthcare. Just get back to work.
yeah. I mean, that's the
Stop being
simple
so
reason.
fat.
They love him for that. And he gets to look, Trump gets to look like he's an anti-establishment guy, cleaning up Washington, cleaning
Right.
up the dirty FDA that's protecting
Right.
your food,
Well, I'll be curious to see what they actually do with our food, because right now it feels only punitive towards poor people. Yeah, methylene blue, exactly.
Just
and-
meth.
yeah.
Sorry.
Zainab coming with facts, and also thank you so much for the super chat. Yes, that was from the Inspector General report, the 22 Inspector General report. Nubident list that doesn't include people born before 1920. It would cost $9 million to add those social security numbers. No reason to do that. It has nothing to do with improper payments. Such a cartoonish lie. It absolutely is. Thank you for phrasing it much more succinctly than I did, and also for the chat. Thank you. You're awesome. But yeah, so this is all punitive, and just get everybody back to work. And this kind of thing is so disgusting, because it's not bad enough that we live in a country where the price of everything has gone up. The salaries of CEOs is astronomical, and the only thing that has not risen is worker pay. It's disgusting. So there are a lot more poor people. There are a lot more people who are housing, food insecure, and who are on SNAP program, which they used to call food stamps. They changed the name of it and are still going to be just as punitive. There are all sorts of horrible things, like you can't buy hot prepared food. It is really, you're working 2 jobs, you have kids, you're struggling, you're on SNAP, and then you're not even allowed to go and get like a hot roasted chicken. You have to make it from scratch at the it's just disgusting. It's just cruel.
Yeah. I mean, to tell people on SNAP that you have to use you can't use it for junk food, but you also can't use it for hot prepared food. So, if you're a working mom or whatever, single working mom, and you're struggling, you can't save time. You can't, why is it punitive? I mean, that the logic is not there. And we're talking about not spending it on junk food. And some of that junk food is distributed in our school programs still.
Well, because that's the other thing. It is totally subsidized by our government, right? There's a reason that we have corn syrup in every product where it doesn't even belong. And if you go to Europe, it doesn't exist, right? Like whenever they'll take like a European bottle of ketchup and a US one, or, I remember shredded wheat when I was growing up, that was a healthy cereal. And when my kids were young, and I picked it up once, because of course no kid's going to want it, but you're like, you got to try it. And now in the US, it is filled with yellow dye and all these different chemicals you can't even pronounce. And it's not like that in Europe, the exact same product, but it's because those are heavily subsidized food ingredients. That's why it's in all of and it's addictive. So that
piece is attractive because it is clear that products made for us in the US don't follow these safety standards, and they're not made to the same health standards of all these other countries. Like if you ever see the side-by-side comparison of a product for us and a product for Europe,
the ingredients are disgusting.
So much healthier. It's insane that we allow this stuff to be in our food. But what's going to happen is he's deregulating it all. He's not going to come in and say,
or saying drink raw milk. Like that's not the solution.
The solution isn't to drink milk that's been shit in.
Yeah.
Like that's his solution, is shit in milk, like literally shit in milk.
Our birds are allowed to be fed with our cows are allowed to be fed with food that has bird shit in it. So one of the things, and of course we have all the RBT and the hormones and everything that we put in the food, the food for the cows, and like it is just a cycle of poison. When mad cow disease was in Britain about 10 years ago, they would not take any of our livestock. Which, I mean, that enough, like wake up, they are poisoning us. So that part is all true, but yes, they're never going to, you think they're going to stop doing the corn syrup subsidies? No, of course not. Or the sugar and everything. So they make you addicted to these things. You get fat.
Yeah.
Fat. Sorry. I mean, whatever. That's how they're saying it. So I'm saying the words
Unhealthy.
like, then you're, right. And then you're like, you need to go get, okay, Ozempic, which apparently all these people are on. Now the food industry, the fast food industry is trying to come up with a chemical they can add to their fast food that will bypass the blockers of Ozempic. So part of what Ozempic does is it like makes you not crave some of the very addictive additives that they put into all these horrible for you foods. They're now trying, the fast food, big fast food is trying to come up with a chemical that will deactivate that blocker basically if you're taking Ozempic. I mean, they just,
and so we're gonna get to like, then the elites come up with a pill that's $1,000 a month that gets past that blocker. It's billionaire on billionaire action. And just while we're on Ozempic, I'm so salty about Ozempic because Ozempic, my friend who died from cancer, she couldn't get her Ozempic. She needed to regulate her blood sugars because of the run when it became used as a diet drug.
Because it's for diabetes?
It's for diabetes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she couldn't get it. She literally couldn't get it for a long time because it was being off use prescribed for health stuff, which is not like, I'm not saying Ozempic might not have its uses in the health side of things, right?
Right.
It really is a wonder drug for a lot of people, but it's also one of these things that people don't realize. Yeah, you got to do it forever. Like being on some random drug that screws with your blood sugar forever. How long have we studied this? Like what's the end game with that? Like, let's talk about what 20 years of being on a drug that regulates your blood sugar levels does to you, like, so if you're young and you're like, hey, I could lose 10 pounds with this Ozempic thing. Yeah. For the rest of your life, you're going to do it. What's that going to do to you? We don't know. So anyway,
which is also why, obviously I understand why people on the left were against RFK, but there were a lot of people on the right also. They were worried about it because even speaking about this publicly, which should have been spoken about for the last, 4 decades. So that's criminal that people who are supposed to be, the Democrats who are for the working man, nobody's talking about, but that's why, because it would interfere with the bottom line of keeping everybody sick, because he's not like that part, it's so insidious. That part of his thesis ideology is correct. Like the more you exercise, the better you eat. Overall, that's a better way of life. And we are being poisoned in this country. Right.
And all the health initiatives that are pushed for, those sound great.
Yeah.
But their solution is like, well, and the people that can't do that stuff, you just sort of fall by the wayside. This is some Biden shit. This is like, that's
some of them,
problem
unfortunately, is like, are going to fall by the wayside.
If changing your diet doesn't work, we're not going to give you depressive meds that you need, and a lot of people on these meds they're so powerful, which is why it's so important that you have a good doctor regulate and track you and whatnot.
Right.
But if you're off of these sometimes for a week, people get suicidal and kill themselves, like literally within a week or days, sometimes even.
Yeah.
So like the idea that this guy who has these fucking conspiracy theories about everything is going to just shut down some of this stuff is going to kill people immediately.
Yeah. It's really, it's horrible because there's no holistic vision. It's all just cherry picking people's sort of, pet projects. And so if you have, like at first I was really irritated watching Bernie Sanders grilling RFK, like, well, are you for Medicare for all? Are you for healthcare for everybody? Are you? And I was like, well, where were you for 4 years when your good friend Joe said he would veto it? But the thing is to point out the hypocrisy that, like, if you actually care about people's long-term health, yes, take the poisons out of our food. The EPA, like, we have to regulate our water. Our water isn't safe anymore. I mean, people are talking about now, like, like the very sort of COVID conscious people, how water didn't used to be safe in the US until we decided everybody needed clean drinking water. And now you just assume your tap water is clean, and we need to do the same to clean indoor air. But the thing is, we don't have clean drinking water. You cannot drink water out of your tap in most places, right? So, like, there are so much systemic rot in this country, and he doesn't actually want to deal with that. He just has his own stuff because of his own health, his own family history of, people who have been born either on the spectrum or with congenital issues or whatever it is. But it doesn't have like a broad approach that would actually help lots of people. He just wants to do his own
He's
family.
never been shaped by science. He's not looking at science. He's never looked at science. He's looked at things that confirm his existing beliefs.
Jenny
and
McCarthy.
That's the problem. What I think is interesting is that either he was chosen because they know they can, that he's not going to go to real war with Big Pharma, because that's a real thing, or we have a clash coming up with Big Pharma where Big Pharma is going to win. I mean, I don't see how
he'll get maybe one thing reduced or put on a schedule, or he'll get like one little win or something, but it's not going to be. He won't do anything.
Right. So I think where I was going with that, because I don't know where I'm going with anything, but I'm chewing this in my brain.
No, same. I think need a second glass of wine, but this one really hit hard. Yeah.
Ultimately, it's going to be these things in science that work. He's not going to be able to shut them down. They're just not going to be available and subsidized at all by the public. None of it, the government is going to help anybody except for the rich people, but he's not going to stop the rich people from getting this stuff. It's just going to be removed from our availability as a middle-class person, because why should our insurance cover this thing when you can just eat better?
Yeah. Yeah. It's all, I mean, that's the whole American project. We are individualist. Pull yourself up from your bootstraps. You don't need, just
they hate me here. StreamYard hates me. Spoke too much truth.
Solutions, everything. Yeah. I mean, sorry, I'm trying to read everybody's comments and I can't get back there fast enough. And now I forgot what I was going to say. Look at that. The poison. Anyway, yeah, he's not going to, because when he was being interviewed, I think even when he was running either as a Democrat or independent or whatever it was, and I actually think it might have been when he was on Breaking Points, but they asked RFK, because his big thing, his big sort of evidence that he is sincere about all of this is that he took on corporations because of what they were doing to destroy our climate, right? He's a big environmental lawyer. And so they asked him, like, okay, so did you support the Green New Deal? Is that something like, is that how you feel like that we should move forward? No, I haven't really thought about that. Like, he wouldn't commit to that, right? Like, he would not even commit to some, I mean, honestly, not even big enough version of what we need to do to save ourselves. And that was his one issue that made him, like, that catapulted him, is not just being a nut job.
And I think that's why, like, they must know they got him, on some level, for him to have made that position.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when he co-signed, when he put himself out there as this anti-war guy too on the left, but then they saw him go all in for Israel.
And said that we need to run our borders the way they do in Israel.
Right.
I mean, he's
just,
vile.
Those were handoffs to the Republican Party. They may be true. I'm not saying they're necessarily fake beliefs or changed beliefs, but he's safe to the establishment, or he wouldn't be in this powerful position to regulate our health. So the big pharma is going to make all the money they always made, probably more, because like I said, the government's not going to subsidize these things, but you need them to live. So it's just going to extract wealth for the middle class.
Yeah.
Even more.
Yeah. And, it is interesting. All these people who do like ads for supplements and everything, they do like gold bars. What's the fake, Bitcoin kind of things and supplements.
These guys.
And those are not regulated, but they're often still produced by big pharma. You have to like dig a little deeper. So they make money one way, like ivermectin that everybody, made fun of Joe Rogan for saying that that's what he took and it's really a horse pill or whatever, which is ridiculous because obviously there is the human, it's like, carrots are horse food. Like, okay, sure, but they also can be human food.
Right.
Ivermectin does have a purpose and it's really beneficial when you use it for what it's intended for like a GI issue, I think. I don't know. I am not science. Unlike Fauci, I am not science. But like that's produced by big pharma. So even if you're on the ivermectin path, you're still chilling for big pharma. Like, I don't know. It's all just so ridiculous. And it's just scary because we are being poisoned. We do need somebody to call out these corporations, and it will not be the person who's in charge. But here's the thing, and I don't mean to be like, what about ism? But like, it wouldn't have been a Democrat either. Like, it just wouldn't have been. Democrats rolled over for all of this. We'll get to that also. But like, we are in super scary times. Jordan Sheridan said such great work on, all the ways that we were being poisoned and the chemical fires, and that lithium plant in Northern California is on fire again in the salad bowl of America. So like, really eat healthy when the salad bowl of America and the soil deep down here in LA, the EPA or FEMA, because they have to appeal to FEMA to get them to not only take away all of the refuse and the ash and the burned buildings and all that on the top, they're supposed to dig down a certain amount to make sure that the soil isn't being poisoned by everything that's just landed on it. And FEMA said, no, we don't have to do that. It's fine the way it is.
Well, I mean, that's the problem is like all these chemicals that are in the air ultimately leach into the soil. Right.
Yeah.
And that's how poisoning the food supply works.
Yep.
And so you hope that doesn't hit your water supply. But even if it doesn't hit your water supply, if this fire in California, the lithium fire is affecting, I believe it's something like 70% of the food in the US, of vegetables in the US come from.
Yeah. I mean,
it's kind of area huge, for a lot of vegetables.
Percentage, yeah.
Right. So if you're going to eat your way out of fucking mental illness, as he's going to be prescribing, you're going to be eating the toxic vegetables. Is that what we're looking at? Like, that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
And I just look at all these appointments and all these people, and when you bring it back to Democrats, would it be no better? It's true. Like, you are not going to get a high level appointment in the government unless you're a quack of some sort, because that provides opportunity to change the funding of certain groups or whatever, or you're just somehow owned by them, and they know you're going to
definitely not going to challenge
the donors. Them. So in either party, same thing with the Supreme Court. When they talk about the Supreme Court, if the Democrats would just get some people to the Supreme Court, you're not going to make it to the Supreme Court if you're looking out for the climate.
No,
or you want
or
you're people should have health care or
anti-corporate.
Yeah,
right.
It's
like all the big liberals
fucked.
Yeah, they grab their ankles for every corporate decision and anti-worker decision. I just feel like this was probably a really important comment for us to point out. Thanks, Jenna. I'm joking.
That was way too serious. I
was way too serious.
Joke about it, but don't say it's real. That Lila's right.
But all the things that people when they go abroad, especially Europe, I see it, and it probably happens other places. I just happen to see this more when people go to Europe. They'll say like, I don't know, I went to Italy, I didn't stop eating pizza the whole time, I lost 10 pounds. Or, I went to France and I just ate cheese and drank all day. And like, And it's because your food is not poison and you're walking. And those are two things they will not do in this country. They will not take the poisons out of our food, and they will not encourage community, right? Everybody's in a suburb. You need to drive to work. You can't afford to live in the city. I mean, this is by design, right? Like this is the class warfare.
Yeah.
They are making us sick and unhealthy and poor and desperate. That's the whole deal. All right. What do you think?
And it's a race to see if AI can compensate for how many of us are fucked out of the workforce by all these policies.
Yeah. How much less can they pay? The FDA, the head of the FDA resigned.
Yeah, the head of all the programs in America are resigning. I mean, like, that's not a good sign. Like, you know, the people in charge of Social Security, the people that allowed that watched DOGE come in, they all resigned. You know, the leadership. I don't even know what department.
Between the people resigning because they don't want to have to enact or do the things that, you know, DOGE wants them to do because it's dishonest and against the pledges or what they thought that they were doing in their careers, and the mass firings that then they have to walk back. Like,
sorry, we fired the nuclear people.
Yeah, they just did that with, oh God, what was the department? They just fired a bunch of people. Yes, they did fire a bunch of people from the air, you know, the FAA, which is crazy because even that plane crash in Toronto, which was crazy. Did you see that? That was yesterday morning. Oh my God.
Yeah. And then two more today.
There were two more. Okay. So the thing that nobody talks about, did everybody see that? We should just show a really quick video because it's insane. Just in case you missed it, landing in snowy Toronto. Here was the plane landing.
1, 2, 3. I can take that. Oh fuck! Oh fuck! Oh no! Tower, you're seeing this airplane just crash into 3.
So nobody on the plane had any indication that something was wrong. It was just landing. Then the people watching have now said that it looks like the pilot didn't do, I can't remember the name of it, but the thing you're supposed to do where you kind of tilt the nose up to slow it down as it's landing so that it doesn't just like do a, you know, hard dive, did not happen from people on the outside looking at it. We don't know what but like, it looks like it was, they're saying they think it was probably pilot error. Then of course there's the whole right-wing thing
that brings you to COVID though, to be honest.
Okay, that's where it always brings me. Nobody else ever talks about it. The right will talk about DEI, and the liberals who don't remember what happened under Biden will say we need more air traffic controllers and more pilots. We can't just go down to one pilot. Of course, those two proposals started under Biden. And I agree, yes, we need 2 pilots always in the cockpit and as many air traffic controllers as possible. But what they never
How do you not have 2 pilots in every cockpit in America? I mean, can you imagine? Like, something happens, and why are we trying to make every flight a fucking movie where like we have to be talked down by the people in this?
I got away with them. Every time you land, you're just like, fuck, I did it.
Understand it. And to the COVID thing, like, okay, my boss has been sick for 2 weeks now, but he's been sick for a year.
Yeah, forever.
He's got
the whole time I've known you, he's been sick. Yeah.
He's got long COVID. But like driving around with him is like me constantly, like I used to just tweet on my phone and look at my phone, but now I'm like, you're about to run a red light every fucking second. Like you're like the attention span of some people who have long COVID is just not there. And I see it in my daily life at my job, driving around with my boss. And believe me, there should be 2 drivers in the car I'm in. So a plane full of like 300 people deserves 2 pilots at all time. And I want to test their cognitive abilities too, because I want to make sure they don't have long COVID. Can we do this? Is this crazy? Instead of just firing the black pilots?
How do we not have that kind of brain scan for anybody doing the jobs where it's life or death, right? Like, I agree with you. And, you know, that's another place where, you know, all of like the people that I mostly can't stand, like the insurance industry people who collect our money and then their whole job is to not give us the payout when we have claims. But those actuarial tables for driving after the beginning of COVID, there were more like car accidents have gone up exponentially.
I think it was the biggest year in fatalities recently.
Yeah.
And it's just people, I mean, it's the phone too, sure. Yeah. But we had the phone 20 years, people driving around texting on their phone before COVID, and then COVID hits and then everybody gets in fucking wrecks.
Yeah.
So I'm not putting it on the phone. It's COVID.
But that's the one thing that nobody is talking about is the brain damage that we know increases on, like, even if you had a minor case, even if you had an asymptomatic case, there's brain damage. And then people are getting it several times. So like and the Delta CEO was the one who said, everybody go back to work, take off your mask, 5-day isolation period. So these people are in a closed chamber, and that whole myth about, oh, the air on a plane, it's so great. No, it's supposed to be, but it does not turn over the air in the way it's supposed to.
No, the air on a plane is terrible. It's terrible. It's COVID. And if you're on a plane with 200 people, you've got on average 4 people on the plane with COVID, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's like 1 in 72 right now, I think, generally across America, but
those infections are like, and these people need to be at the top of their game every second of the game. So yes, the fact that no one's talking about that is also a problem, but let's fire all the FAA workers anyway. All right, we should move on, but is there any other thing? This is a super important, I want to talk about the free speech stuff. All right. Plastic straws will soon be back. Wimpy Biden. By the way, I didn't realize that Breaking 911 account was a right-wing gross account. I mean, I don't follow them, but whatever. I will be signing an executive order next week, ending the ridiculous push for paper straws, which don't work, back to plastic, which, as we know, for a million reasons, the ban on plastic straws is probably ridiculous because the best thing we could do is stop the U.S. military and, really come down on companies. But also, it's good to not throw plastic all over the place. And we all have microplastics in every part of our organs and bodies and brains because they're poisoning us. But that's his big, what was his tweet? He who hath made an edict. All right. Should we spin? Because there's still more stuff to talk about, but we should spin.
When in doubt, we spin.
Always spin.
Yeah, baby.
Before you do that, I just want everyone to know, in the vein of, stirring shit up between Pat and me.
Uh-oh. Here we go. Here we fucking go. Let's do this.
Where's our shot graphic to call the audible, to make my audible? Anyway, I'm refilling right now while we watch our.
We do have to pick it. Quick vote: cats versus dogs, or dog shoes. Anyone? First response gets it. 5 seconds, and I'm just going to push the button.
I think Truth to Tweet sent us the dog shoe one. Maybe both.
Dog shoes it is.
What are those? They're called my sandals.
just short circuits their brains somehow.
I wonder what that feels like for them. I feel sort of sad for my dog because when it's 117 degrees here in the summer, we don't have sidewalks in some of our neighborhoods. You have to walk on the tar streets.
And I think that's the main reason these exist is their pads get burnt on hot asphalt.
It's terrible.
Somebody was asking in the chat, but yeah.
I just think we should, I mean, it's still GOP stuff, but we should talk a little bit about JD Vance, who's really been kind of pushed over to a side role. I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, now that Trump's VP, I mean, he's got to be something else.
Trump's VP, right? Exactly. Yeah. Everyone's making room for Elon. But so he goes to Europe and gives this speech on free speech to countries of the European Union. This is a small segment of it, but just to give everybody an idea before we sort of start breaking it down. This was a couple months ago.
And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizens suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
Come on.
So I fear that too, because people who are protesting a genocide are being arrested and rounded up. Francesca Albanese was giving a speech with Varoufakis with the ACLU in Germany, I think, in Berlin, and they tried to shut her down. This is intimidation of people seeking abortions, and these silent prayers and the handing out of pamphlets and the intimidation is terrifying. And it has been, they're pushing people back from trying to intimidate and harass women who are going to get abortions. So,
and the whole thing's about a buffer zone. We're not talking about free speech. We're talking about don't get in the face of people using the service that they need. That's it. And even the high crime that he talks about wasn't jail. It was a fucking financial penalty. Meanwhile, these guys are going to pass legislation to where we can't speak up at a public forum if a politician is talking.
Exactly. Right.
That's what they're doing. So this is just religious pandering and bullshit.
Yeah. His president is saying we're going to round up students who are here legally on the visa who protest and deport them. He's banning the AP. I mean, whatever, but banning the AP from coming to the press conferences or to the press, being part of the press corps because they refuse to say that it's the Gulf of America. They're not for free speech at all. However, I am concerned about the lack of free speech, both in our country and in Europe. And he doesn't point out any of that. The other part of his long speech, it was like 20 minutes, he did say something about, and this was kind of interesting, canceling the Romanian election because of outside influence that was never proven. They said, oh, Russia interfered. We're going to cancel it because the results didn't turn out the way the right-wing government wanted it to. And the US supported that. That kind of was interesting to me that he said that part of it, because that to me feels like it flies in the face of what the US military, deep state, whatever actually wants. But yeah, no talk at all about actual impediments to free speech and cracking down on free speech, especially in Germany, where they are German cops who are direct descendants of Nazis are rounding up anti-Zionist Jews who are protesting a Holocaust, a current Holocaust genocide, and that's not being addressed at all.
I mean, and for Germans to be on the wrong side of history so severely again.
Not shocking.
Like, wow.
Not shocking. Yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah.
the good news is Vance was not met with fanfare. Vance was met with boos and what the fuck you America for the most part, which should be the standard. I mean, I don't want to be a US citizen traveling and feel that fire, but a politician deserves every fucking ounce of it. And we're pissing our allies off at an exponential rate as we are losing our status in the world, as our economy is about to decline, as our inflation is about to go through the roof. We're saying, fuck you, Canada, fuck you, every ally, everything matters.
The ICC, the ICJ. I mean, yeah. The other reason, though, and again, like, you know, the Democrats are trying to spin this as Trump's making the world more unsafe. He wants to pull out of NATO. But the truth is, what he's saying to all the European countries is you need to pony up more money for NATO. He's not saying we should no longer be an aggressive military force. He's not anti-war. He thinks he's getting a bad deal, but he just wants more money put into it, right? But like the way it's phrased towards your supposed allies and your dear friends in Europe, I think it is like, this is the continuation of a break of our dominance of the hegemonic U.S. empire.
It is. And, you know, as far as the U.S. military support or financial support for these wars, like as much as I don't support the Ukraine war, which is a proxy war of the U.S., which is going to end badly for Ukraine, just like we said it would when it started. The EU paid for more of that than us. Like, it's not like Israel. The EU has financed that thing more than we did. So
for the proxy war, well, I mean, they've certainly suffered the consequences, right? Like, that's destroyed their energy sector because we blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. Like, they are certainly paying the consequences for our war. That they're still bragging now, like, it was great. We just threw Ukrainian bodies to try to get rid of, you know, to diminish the power of Russia. But that was under Biden. And like, yeah, Europeans should hate us because we did that to them.
We deserve it all. But the European governments funded a lot of that is the point I'm trying to make here too. It's just donating to NATO is like, well, even his point about that in regards to Ukraine doesn't hold up because they are contributing to that. Now they're not contributing to NATO as much as they should probably, but
I mean,
NATO is not a peace force anymore.
It never was. It was never a peace force. Like, that wasn't the intention.
It's a spreading imperialism for the US for the most part.
Anti-communist, military that would just like pulled everybody in after World War II. Thanks, Soviet Union, for getting rid of the Nazis. Now we're going to bring the Nazis on with us, and we're anti-communism. It's gross. Okay, but here's what happens when you have, and again, I always have to go back to broadcast news. When you have journalists, anchor people on your news shows who are deeply underinformed. So Marco Rubio comes on and talks to, what's her name, Margaret Brennan, And this is her take after the JD Vance talk in the EU.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship
I have to disagree with
was
you.
specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So that's not an accurate reflection of history.
I mean, how hard does it suck when Marco Rubio is right about that one point?
It's painful.
Like, she's to own JD Vance, she's going to say that it was the adherence to the principle of free speech that allowed Nazis to rise. Call out the fact that, Elon Musk and JD Vance love the descendants of Nazis and the AfD party. Great. Like, that's a problem. But to conflate Hitler with free speech and the genocide of World War II with free speech, like, that's galaxy brain moronic level.
They're really trying everything now because, like, most of these moves by Musk and Elon, and Trump are not popular with their own base.
Right.
They're just shielding it with the racism and the xenophobia, but where this goes next is, I don't know. It's really going to be interesting because the real conflict is going to be his base. With how long can they hold on to this xenophobic blame the Mexicans thing?
And some of them are getting fired, like writing him online saying, hey, I voted for you. I work at some federal agency and I was just fired and I didn't think it was going to affect me, which of course, then the liberals come in and are like, ha, 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 you voted. You thought it was only, and on some level, like, but they didn't run. Listen, most people, most Democratic voters, most Republican voters, they don't have the time or inclination to read a lot and know exactly what's going on, right? So you have one party who pretended that our economy was going great, and you're a moron if you think the fact that you can't afford housing or food or education, right? You don't know how good you have it. That was the Democrats. And then Trump comes in, he's like, we're going to get rid of all the people. You are all hurting. We're going to fix it. We're going to root out the corruption. So those were the two like main cells. Keep doing what we're doing and we're not Trump, or I hear you, I see you, we're going to fix it. And now those people are still not able to feed their families and they've just been fired, some of them.
And it's always the economy. And you can only hide a bad economy that hurts people's pocketbooks for so long with racism and blaming others. And, how long it lasts is yet to be known. But that's the plan, is to hide behind the evil shit they do by continuing to otherize and blame all the marginalized groups they can for every problem in America. But at some point, you deport all the people that you're blaming. You cut programs that these people are relying on. What's the phrase about coming home to roost? The chicks come home to roost. Like
it's going to be really awful, because the one thing that I think that they're really not taking into account actually, that's not true, because okay. What they're not taking into account as they legislate is the fact that there is a better way to deal with this and still save capitalism, which of course that's not my goal, but you could do the FDR version of it, right? You could still be plenty rich. You just won't be so rich that everybody else needs to fucking die on the street, right? You could still be a titan of industry, except that people could afford a roof over their heads. They're so pathologically greedy, they don't even want to allow that. But they know it's coming, right? Which is why we have all the cop cities, which is why we have, what's this newest thing where the United Healthcare has hired a legal team to start legislation against anybody who writes anything negative about them online?
Which is wild, and they're going to lose that fight, I would hope. I mean, the truth is always in the law. The truth is always a defense. Now, where they can get into gray area is if they start writing their policies to say you cannot speak negatively somehow about, if it's somehow in a contract or something, you can be precluded from speaking the truth.
So like hospitals will want to do that, force their doctors to do that possibly. So there was this doctor, Dr. Potter, who about 2 weeks ago, she was called out of surgery to get a notice from United Healthcare about the patient she was performing surgery on, breast cancer patient, saying, we don't know if this is necessary surgery. And she totally,
but she interrupted the surgery knowing that it was probably them saying she might not be covered and didn't want to stick the person with the crazy bill. Like she did it because she knows how evil the system is, but she's
because
the staunchest advocate I've seen for patients, and she's amazing. We're trying to get her on.
Totally. However, but not only was she concerned, but like normally those messages would have gone to her regular office, not to the hospital, the receptionist, the nurses, like everybody felt the panic. And that's why that United Healthcare was delivering over the phone. Like, this has to stop. We're not paying for it. That's why they called her out of surgery, right? She did a video saying how distraught she was. Never in her whole career as a surgeon had this happened. She called out United Healthcare. She wanted to save her patient's life. This is a horrible way to run her practice and to deal with patients. And she cares about the whole patient, their physical health, their mental health, their well-being, of being stuck with tens of thousands of dollars of bills, all this stuff. Okay. So this new thing happens where United Healthcare hires some big attorney to start legal action against anybody who restrained Claire Locke, one of the top defamation law firms in the country, to issue threats of legal action over social media posts about the insurer's refusal to provide coverage to patients. Well, part of the reason that people take to social media is because, as we've all noticed, when you try to call any company, you're often just handed off to AI. You get a chat, you get a phone call, you can press buttons, you're, oh, sorry, it's been denied, and you don't get to talk to a physical person. But sometimes people get some results by broadcasting their plight online. So she does this. Immediately, she was like the first target of Claire Locke law firm. Bill, Ackman, the Zionist billionaire who
the other AI guy.
The what?
Isn't he the other AI guy?
No, he might have some of that, but no, he was one of the big funding the like Canary Mission, AIPAC, sort of like anti-protesters, trying to get any protesters, and I think specifically his connection was to Colombia, I think. He's going to withhold his endowment and no more donations. He's a multi-millionaire. And I think he was dating some like scientist professor from there who had dated Brad Pitt. So like they were all, but he was going to withhold his donations because Colombia wasn't cracking down on these groups. So he's like an evil, gross person. He was a Democrat. Then he turned to being a pro-Trump guy because nobody has any integrity or values at all. He does a deep dive on this. he first wrote something negative towards Dr. Potter. Then he does more work, really looks into it. Now he's on her side. And he wrote a long tweet about it. Dr. Potter, who seems great, and she, she's a life-saving surgeon. She maybe doesn't have time to do lots of research into who the people are who are supporting her. She knows this guy is a billionaire. He's influential. He has some kind of hook into this Claire Locke legal anti-defamation law firm. So now he's come out on her side. So now this woman who seems kind of amazing is praising the efforts of Ackman, who's an it's just like my head explodes because we're all
I didn't know that.
separate.
I did not
It just
know
happened
that
today
piece.
or yesterday, but like it just so like now his image is going to be, there's going to be a patina of like, oh, he's actually a good guy. But we shouldn't have to depend on billionaires to look at individual cases to make sure that doctors who are performing life-saving surgeries aren't being pulled out of surgery on one hand and then threatened with defamation lawsuits. And like what we all need to do is appeal on social media that some fucked up Zionist genocidal asshole billionaire takes interest in our one specific, like what kind of system is this?
And that is the system we have because, occasionally you can get some justice by raising hell on Twitter for a case or something, but like in general, they've gotten even really good at maneuvering it all off of Twitter. They're like, oh, can you contact me via email? We'll talk about this, and of course, nobody's going to shirk the first contact they've had with their insurance company in a month. They've been trying to reach, so they're going to play ball for a little bit, and then how many of these cases don't end up going anywhere, or they get a shitty half measure,
I mean,
I wish I could remember the case I was just listening to, but it was one of these cases where this happened online, and the insurance company said, if you talk about, somebody wrote a book, and it was part of this stuff was in a book, and they were like, if you put this in the book, we might not end up paying for the coverage kind of thing. I don't have the details, so I might as well have just made it up, but that's how corrupt these people are. And it's just, they're
disgusting.
This whole thing is silencing actual fucking people that deserve to be Luigi. And that's the whole role.
I mean,
silencing the people pointing out. The people who want a Luigi.
No, I mean, it's hard to see a way out of this that's not
1,000 Luigis.
I mean, it is. And so that's the whole thing. Like that's what they, that's what they do to the Green Party. It's what they do to all of us when they, like the IRS targeting low income people, because it's way easier to target a waitress who didn't claim all of her tips, or somebody who's driving, like doing gig work and not claiming everything, than a multi-billion-dollar company. I mean, like what we were talking about on the last show, that Tesla, that made $2 billion in profit last year, paid 0 federal income tax. There are all these loopholes. Well, it was our business wasn't making money when we were investing, so this rolls over, whatever it all is. But they have teams of people that they will spend millions on to save billions. And so the IRS is that they don't have the manpower to do that. I hate the fact that we have to pay taxes right now because we get nothing. Like, what are we getting for it? Nothing. Like, it's crazy. But in a working society, you pay into the bucket and it helps everybody. And that's what you're supposed to be doing. So you do want the cheaters to have to, face some accountability, but now they're just going to starve the IRS and, make everybody.
That's where this whole thing is just a farce, because everything that Musk is doing, you would love an actual trained group to go in and look for inefficiencies, right? But that they're not there for that. You got the guy who's benefiting the most in probably the whole US from government contracts is investigating all the groups he competes with out in the open. And it's just so transparent that they're losing support within MAGA even, and even though they're trying to keep this facade up. So,
I mean, that's the hope, right? Like that there's enough weight. But again, like they don't listen to our protests. They don't care about the polls. Like nothing.
None of this
I don't know,
matters.
it's the craziest thing. Like we know that Boeing has been allowed to put their own people on the FAA, so that then when Boeing has all of these, whistleblowers for years now have been saying that they're taking like, parts that actually don't work, and that's why all these crashes are happening. You investigate yourselves. But this has been going on. Like, I don't know when, like, what's the critical mass?
The whole thing is a cycle. Obviously, it's all these boards from, the pharma boards are all from the people. They're comprised of people who work for the pharma companies. It's just, and
the
it's
EPA
the pipeline,
is from the oil company. Yeah.
Pipeline. You're a politician who granted us some legislation. Oh, you're on the board now. Proving the next thing when you're out of office. So there's no penalty for being a completely corrupt politician. You get on board immediately.
Like why were Boeing's contracts all just canceled? Like, who was it? Trump who said we have to shut everything down until we find out what the hell's going on with whatever he was talking about? Like, why isn't that the response? I've talked about this so many times, but Jaws is one of my all-time favorite movies. And when I was younger, the only part that I, as like an 8-year-old, found unbelievable was that the mayor would keep the beach open on July 4th weekend just to make money when he knows that there's an active shark there. And it's like, no, actually, that was the most credible part of the whole movie.
That's kind of wild because that's our world right now. So much.
4th of July, baby. We're all at the beach.
Wow. Yeah.
That's
spin that baby.
Right? I felt it.
Good.
Yeah, baby.
Guys, it's crazy. I'm calling another audible, even though we don't have the clip, Pat. I have to refill my glass for the 3rd or 4th time. And you all
perfect. I will drink as well. Shout out to Training Wheels. Feels like an apt beer for this.
Wait, that's the name of it?
Yep.
I love it. What's the ABV?
It's an IPA, so probably 6.5, 7.
All right. Baby steps. That does feel like Training Wheels.
Yeah.
14.5%.
Nice. Try drinking 27 of them.
All right. Well, yeah. 14.
But I like making up numbers, so let's just do it.
Come on.
You don't have to be scared of the kitty.
That also might have been Truth to Tweets. Thank you if it was. I love all these pet videos.
That always reminds me, I had a cat where when I was a kid, you could go up and rub the cat's butt and it would piss it off, and he would go attack the dog on demand.
Really?
Yeah. Loved it. You could just go up and rub the butt.
It's like
terrible. I'm sorry. I hope that doesn't make me a serial killer or something, something.
The transitive
animal
property.
abuse. It was fun. Not gonna lie.
It's like tapping somebody on the shoulder on the opposite side.
It's an evil power.
Yeah.
Once you realize you have an evil power, I mean, it's like,
you gotta use it.
Do you use it? Do you use it?
Yeah.
Strike just came by to say hello.
Speaking of your evil powers, let's see, Strike. Hey, Strike. Let's the Dems, where it's been interesting to see that even as they mount no opposition and continue to shit all over the left and blame woke and the left and unpopular purity politics, which is all a lie. Recently, they've been getting a little more pushback from people on the outside. And before we show these videos, it's just, I wonder if our next, the next competition will be between two people who are completely outside of politics, like we'll show, but like a Jon Stewart, Stephen
Like
Smith, Oprah Winfrey, like whatever. She's disgusting, but like that's Mark Cuban. Like, I think the whole country is just done with the people who have been here forever and have overseen the demise.
I think you're right. I think it makes sense. There's no lineup on the left that is even remotely popular.
Pete Buttigieg.
The thing is, I really think in 4 years, things are so bad that the Democrats think they don't need to run anyone else. So we're in the same dynamic of like, let's play it safe with the Democrat, and the media will all lean into it. So, but I think you're right. We will have an opportunity in 4 years, which we should be preparing for now, to have something bigger than Jill Stein getting % of the vote. As much as I love the Green Party and support.
No, I know, and her platform, or the SCP, there's some great people out there, but we need like the.
Yeah, but if in 2028 we get 0.1% of the vote, like we have failed on the left. Like, what are we doing? I'm not saying electoral politics is the answer. It's not, but like, we should flip this whole thing on its head. Like, so.
Listen, but none of us knows the answer. Like, yes, it's a working class labor revolt, but the truth is, Democrats did not exactly push hard to continue the very few labor gains that happened under Biden. They didn't talk about it. They didn't make it part of their platform. Kamala, trotted out Mark Cuban to say that he was going to get rid of Lena Khan. And Sean Fain.
I never know which is the good Sean.
I know Sean. I know. And then like there's even stuff about Sean Fain where people are kind of like, he's probably not but Sean, between the two, you would probably you would say that Sean Fain is the better one. But he's not. I don't think that he is going to galvanize the nation. He doesn't have that kind of.
I have more faith in Sarah from the airlines.
Why isn't she doing anything?
Like,
why isn't
honestly? But here's what happens. This is why we cannot even
Nelson.
Sarah Nelson. We can't even put a glimmer of hope into that in electoral politics.
Yeah.
Because if you get a Sarah Nelson in there, they will flood the field with a Jon Stewart, who is probably pretty good too. I would vote for him if he was among the others.
Yeah.
But then they'll throw an Oprah in there, and they have all the tactics to keep us out indefinitely of electoral politics.
That is,
if Bernie didn't show you that, I can't help you.
Yeah, that's where they know how to fight. They fight. They totally know how to fight. Okay, so let's just watch a couple of it because it's interesting to see a little bit of the squirming of the Democratic establishment when they're confronted with just a regular person who's demanding a little accountability. This was Psaki talking to Jon Stewart last week on his podcast.
I've been shocked by how undemocratic the Democratic Party can be.
Tell me, what do you mean by, I don't disagree with you necessarily, but what do you mean by that?
By putting their foot on the scales to get, make sure that Hillary Clinton comes out of the thing, or make sure that, that they're listening to that anger about the way that even the ACA, quite frankly, struck me as a very conservative.
You mean because it didn't have a public option in it?
Correct. That it didn't address the very thing that was causing the foundational upset. If I were to break this down narratively, what I think the Democrats have forgotten is government may not be perfect, but it's the only thing large enough to offset multinational corporate exploitation and corruption.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't act like that's urgent and that affects people's lives, then yeah, so if the big policies that we make are billions more dollars to insurance companies that we think are fucking people over left and right for their healthcare, so isn't that part of why people lost faith?
Yeah. So yes, I think we're saying, well, I'm trying to say something similar, which is this.
Boom.
Which is Democrats just lost everything. They control nothing. They control, I mean, they don't control the House. They don't control the Senate. They don't control the White House, and they don't control the Supreme Court. So now is the time to break some shit, right? And break some China.
They do control the email lists that continue to ask for money.
Well, that's true.
They still have that.
That was like big eye roll. Oh, you mean when we rigged the 2016? Oh, you mean the ACA when there wasn't the public option? Oh, like
oops.
But now we don't have control of anything. So what do? Break shit? What does she mean by break shit?
For the PR person for everything that just happened in the last 4 years that led to this, to be out on TV as some fucking sage on how we lead the revolution. Fuck off. Like she's look, you
Why
can't
is anybody
be
talking to her?
Right. I mean, it's okay. I get it on some level. Like, hey, here's a reformed person that used to be part of the administration is how they want to sort of spin it. Like just Stewart's trying,
This is why I'm kind of like, I can't even watch him because it's too lib, but yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, he's always, he's leaning on the lib, which is why, look, I don't want to get into electoral, but if he ever ran, look, I'll vote for him if he's the best guy. Cause I think at the end of the day, his heart's in the right place, but he shepherded people to the Democratic Party all throughout this whole thing for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And he woke people up before Bernie did. Like Jon Stewart really did do the anti-Fox News, like both parties thing for real for years. And I don't think his heart is in the wrong place. I like what he's saying.
He's comfortable enough. I mean, it's honestly, there's so few people in his economic bracket who would spend time on this. So I appreciate that from him. But it is frustrating that he's nice to these people who have destroyed our world. Like when he had Jeffries on, or he has like, AOC, and like she's one of the good ones. I can't even watch it. Like I saw the thumbnail. I was like, I get it. I don't want to see him being nice to her and act like she's on our side. Like it just makes me crazy.
No, he at the end of the day is the most informed lib, is what I think of him as.
Yeah.
He's like the most, like he understands all the dynamics in play. He's the Bernie within the media, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
He gets the problem. And then he, at the end of the day, is like, here's our best Democrat. Do it. So that solution, like, he's being radical now.
Yeah.
Sort of.
I mean, sort of, but yeah. I just want to thank everybody checking in on me. Josh is at a union meeting and he wants to make sure I have enough food, but I'm seeing people make sure that I have enough wine. I do. I brought two bottles here.
That's important.
I am good. Okay. But so here's the other one. I don't know anything about Stephen Smith, except I see people like talk about him sometimes. And like, there's been there's a new campaign of Stephen Smith for president. They're like, he's for universal healthcare. I don't know what any of his platform is on anything, but I like the way he did this. So this is him. I don't know if was it on his show or was it on Pod Save America? I'm not sure, but his show. No, I'm asking. Do you know?
Oh, I think it was Pod Save.
He was on their show.
I think so.
All right. Well, we'll see because it will be in the background.
I didn't watch it all. I've watched a couple clips, but I don't know. Maybe
So he's talking to Tommy Viator, whatever, however you pronounce the name. And here he is.
Democrats were boring. We're the NBA skills competition where Wemby's cheating, while Trump is the USA-Canada hockey game where there's 3 fights in 10 seconds and you can't look away. And like, I don't know how to compete with that. We don't have a leader who can compete with that. We don't have a party that can compete with that. We don't have a message that can compete with that.
But tell why. You can't compete with that, and you don't have that. I'm not talking about you specifically, of course.
I know.
About Democratic Party. You don't know that, and you can't compete with that for the biggest reason of all, because y'all are too busy trying to pick candidates for the American people instead of listening to the American people tell you who they want. The last Democrat that the American people told you they wanted was Barack Obama. Hillary Clinton, it's her turn. Bernie Sanders had momentum. It's Hillary's turn. Joe Biden captured momentum because Representative Clyburn got involved in South Carolina, saved his behind, but it's really, really his turn, okay? He has no business running for re-election, but everybody went for it, knowing he was supposed to be transitional. He's going to be 81 years of age. Then you sit up there. He doesn't have a primary. Then he goes on the debate stage and embarrasses himself. Then y'all still let him take 3 damn weeks to walk away instead of getting the hell out there immediately so you can see if there's somebody other than Kamala Harris who could be the Democratic nominee. Then she gets the nomination, and everybody wants to act like she's the rock star all of y'all wanted all along. Oh, my God, let's throw up our hands and just to say, hey, she is the one, when you know good and damn well that wasn't the truth. Meanwhile, Trump has been around since 2015. They had Christie, they had Kasich, they had Fiorini, I believe her name is.
Yep.
You had later on, you had DeSantis, you had Nikki Haley, you had Ramaswamy, you had all of these people. It didn't matter. We went through lawfare and all this stuff. It didn't matter. They looked the public in the face and they said, we want him. We don't care what y'all want, and forced the Republican Party to capitulate to the demands of their constituency. That's what they did. The Democrats somehow, some way, have gotten away with ignoring the constituency and compelling the constituency to capitulate to what they want as a party. And that is the problem. And that's why I said it all needs to go. Some of those candidates need to go. The pundits, the strategists, they need to go. Whoever was involved with the latest election, from a strategy standpoint, every one of them should be fired. Every one of them.
Love that so much. You know what he's missing? You guys need to be fired because you are the fucking pieces of shit that fucking parroted all the talking points from the establishment from day one all the way through to fucking Kamala losing.
Yep. And they should all be fired. You would be fired from fucking McDonald's if you did such a poor job of your one goal as what they say their goal is. If you served like a shitty fucking not well wrapped, Big Mac, they would get rid of you. And these people just keep losing and handing the country over to the orange Cheeto literal Hitler or whatever the hell. Just so you know, it's definitely Pinot Noir. It's not any kind of wine. It's cheap Pinot Noir, 14.5%.
Get it.
Just want to make sure. But I love that energy. And it's amazing because there was like a small window where there were people like, we should have listened to Bernie. Bernie was right. And then they've gone right back to, we got to go after that, so whatever. We all know that Democrats don't give a shit, which is why I think somebody like that could infuse some enthusiasm, right?
Yes. But what this is where I'm going to take
what
everybody
you stand
down.
for? Yeah, I mean,
no. But the problem is, even his anger and angst is not directed at the real problem, which is that the Democratic Party doesn't want anyone that can win if they represent any of those values. Now he gets that. He's sort of saying that, but it's leaving out that gap of it's a strategy problem. The Democrats.
Yeah, he said they don't like democracy.
Yeah, they're too insider kind of stuff, and not no, they really intend to fuck over the middle class.
Yeah,
that's the goal of the Democratic Party, just like it's the Republican Party's goal.
Right.
So, at the end of the day, Stephen A. Smith, I respect him for he's a guy who says his opinion regardless, and that's why you get this sound that's valuable, because you're not going to get that from any actual pundit.
I mean, just to watch a little squirm from Tommy Viator made me happy. With Jen Psaki, she can roll her stupid eyes, but healthcare, democracy. Wait, you're talking about rigging an election? She rolls her eyes oh, no biggie. But I just like that those moments are happening in public. We just get so little of it from popular like from popular entertainers. I don't even know. What is Stephen Smith? He's like a sports.
He's mostly
commentary?
basketball, but he covers all sports, but he's up there. He's one of the big ones, you know, top 10 for sure. Sports pundits.
Because that kind of popularity.
He's got his own show.
Was such a huge issue with Bernie because they wanted to make him seem like he's just this old, white, pathetic, nobody likes him. And then you'd see these like young black kids visiting the Capitol Hill or whatever and seeing him and like running across the, you know, lawn to see it. And like, but we had to search for that to show people like, no, this, because liberals were listening so much to their MSNBCs and the CNN and the New York Times and right. So like, but these people they've already established their popularity. But yeah, I mean, the truth is none of it matters because they're not going to fight for the things that we care
about. Let me tell you why none of it matters. As much as I've been listening to right-wing radio, I listened to some NPR today.
Yeah.
Or this was yesterday. Yesterday I was listening to NPR. Guess who became a spokesperson, you know, interviewed by NPR yesterday? Will Stancil is now speaking.
Oh my God. Are you
Will
kidding?
Stancil had a moment on NPR where they were interviewing him and another person. And to his credit, it wasn't about the economy. And they were debating the direction of the Democratic Party. And it was one of those, I agree with the worst person in the world moments.
Yeah.
But that's the best way to introduce the worst person in the world is like, oh, you kind of agree with the worst person in the world. And then you get to know the worst person in the world. You're like, I agree. And then he takes you to the Democrats shouldn't support any leftist policies. But that's what's coming.
Popular.
Will Stencil is on NPR. So,
I mean, NPR is such a
on
corporate rag anyway, right? Like they're being funded by the military industrial complex and all the like, you know, they're but they just fail up. I mean, it's like Hollywood. You just fail up. None of it matters.
Yeah, and the media is this big giant show that shapes our world, and people are still listening to NPR, CNN, MSNBC. That's we getting past the power of that is a real fucking challenge.
You know,
like,
I agree with you. Although they've lost a lot of their audience.
They have, but
those people show up to vote.
But ultimately, that whole group will always frame it about the solution to your problem is in 2026 for the midterms.
Yeah.
And then if it's not there, you blew it, and they'll blame the left, and they'll say the real solution is 2028. And none of that, all of that is a distraction from what we need to do, which is get in the streets, disrupt capitalism, make some economic pain to all the villains in society.
100%.
And that's the none of that is their motive. I mean, their motive is to diffuse leftism.
100%. That is the goal. The system is doing what it was designed to do. Like that's just what's happening. Democrats.
I'm sorry, but that's where Stephen A. Smith. He's missing the part where he relates to the public that the Democratic Party is also doing what it is designed to do.
Yeah. Well, like when he said the problem is, I thought he was going to say you're just as beholden to billionaire donors as Republicans. Instead, he's like, you don't want to hear from the people, which is sort of the same. But yes, exactly. He doesn't get to the crux of it. You know, on some level, the other worry is so all of corporate media is losing audience. They're like bleeding out. It's only older, wealthy people who watch MSNBC, CNN, Fox, right? Or get subscriptions to the New York Times, but they vote. But so then the other issue is, and I know it's not all electoral politics. Like that's not the only way to vote harder. I get it, but it is one tool in that box of affecting change, right? Like the outside inside strategy does depend on there being some people inside who will listen to us on any level. And I think the apathy, which I feel myself, right? Like I don't care about any of this anymore. It all feels like, I mean, I care about the actual policies and like the health of our country and our world, but I haven't donated to a politician since 2020.
Well, check your emails because there are some convincing arguments to stop fascism for $5.
$5 more, and the next time and 10 more.
To
Anyway,
the party that says we're not doing anything.
we're out of power. What should we do? What should we do? We have no power. We can't do anything. We do nothing. All right. It's 7:05. I saw lots of people want to spin. We should do one funny / reminder of why Kamala lost while everybody either takes a hit or refills. This is my 4th glass. And because this lady, I silenced you. No, I really didn't. You silenced yourself, but it kind of.
Oh, I'm sorry. You sounded like you had something in mind. Is there a clip play?
Yeah, I just think that this lady just signed with CAA. I'm jealous as all hell. All she had to do was not win a single vote in her own primary and then aid and abet a genocide for a year. Here she is, CAA's latest client.
For those rights to be maintained, which means we have to be vigilant, and it's just the nature of it. I mean, look at this beautiful play and everything that we know he was suppressed. He had to suppress so much, but he knew, and he took those risks. But we have to be clear-eyed, and it doesn't mean we don't see the beauty in everything, right? These things all coexist. But I believe we fight for something, not against something. Right. And that's our optimism, right?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. With that, I'll leave.
Friend of the show shared that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. That's the party that's supposed to be for the working class, who jets out of their genocide complicity, and Biden, who can barely get a sentence out or walk off stage, signed before Kamala did, even with CAA. Amazing.
It doesn't mean we lose our sense of optimism and stop seeing the beauty. What?
That was beautifully put. Sign that lady up. Let's get her
And
a
all
book deal.
And look, what? Who is like, yes, we don't stop seeing the optimism.
Yeah. So she had gone, that was her, I think it was last night, going to the Broadway show that was at the wait, I wrote it down because my brain, Wonderful World, the Louis Armstrong story. I mean, when you like zoom in on some of those actors' faces as she's talking, they look like, yeah. Anyway, is that it? I think, right?
Yeah, we could go on forever, but let's end it.
We could go on forever, but
with something positive.
What do I need to do to sign with CAA? I'm joking.
Sell your soul.
Sell your soul, baby. Okay, so one good thing tonight, which should have happened, decades ago, is Leonard Peltier has actually finally been released after 50 years in prison for a crime he has consistently maintained, and even the prosecuting attorneys back when the case was tried said he was not guilty of. Fucking Biden could have done it on day one of his presidency. Obama could have done it. I mean, this is just such disgustingness, but he is at 80 years old, finally been released. He is out. He is free. It's our one good thing. And Pat's going to find a lot more poo videos for our Sunday night shit show.
There's a lot of shit to be found. I'm on it.
It's all out there. We love you guys. Keep punching up. We'll see you Sunday.
Love you. Cheers.
Cheers.
We are not going to give up. We're going to win. We've been winning. We're going to continue to win. We're gonna stick together. We're going to unite. As it is right now, we've been united all through indigenous countries, and we're gonna fight back. We're gonna continue until we are a free nation. I gave 50 years for that. And I'm going to give the rest of my life. So they haven't broken. They have not broke me. I am not broken.